So good morning, everybody. My name is Craig Blanchette, and I'm a global director with Take Shape for Life, certified optimal health coach. I'm also actually honored to be part of what we call Team Global. So that's a unique coaching arm or a group of folks with Take Shape for Life that have helped steer the company and help host the Habits of Health calls and things like that. But it's my pleasure to bring you this Health Coach Huddle this morning. We do this every Friday from 9 a.m. Pacific to 10 a.m. Pacific. And if you are watching this live and you want to tune in later, you can go to any podcast application, podcast player, and you can type in Team Blanchette. And you can actually listen to the audio versions later and subscribe to them. So that way, if you miss one, you can listen to that. Or if you missed something we said, you can listen to it again. I also have the video versions available on Vimeo. So vimeo.com, and you can search for Blanchette Health Coach Huddle, and also on YouTube. So for those of you that are watching it on video later, you can tune in live. That would be Fridays at 9 a.m. And the Zoom ID is 503-974-1671. And we do this every week. So our normal format is we do guest introductions. This is a great way to invite people to community. And one of my strategies, my long-term strategies is I plan on working on my health for the rest of my life. And I know that I will have better success if I find other people like me. So that's what this is. This is a group of people that have decided we're not as healthy as we want to be, and we want to pay attention and work on it together. And so you can invite guests to join us. We build a community here, or unified over that common goal of working and paying attention to our health, not just letting it go away. And then many of us have decided that we're going to take it up a notch and learn how to help other people do what we're doing. And that's reciprocal. We end up being helped also in that same process. So we have some guests that people have invited to our little meeting here. And so we're going to do guest intros, and then we're going to do Take Shape for Life University, where we have someone review one of our amazing support calls that are offered through live every week. We got 3 different live calls, and then those are also available through podcast. And so without further ado, I want to welcome everybody to the meeting. And it looks like we have a few people that are guests. And so if it's your first time on the huddle, why don't you unmute yourself, tell us your name, where you're from, and who invited you. Who wants to go first?
I'll go first.
Oh, great.
Hey, look at that.
Look at you, Lisa.
My name is Lisa Travis. I was invited by the fabulous Linda Benson. Mm-hmm. And I live in Bothell, Washington. I'm married. I have 4 crazy boys, and I'm a physical therapist, and I've ignored my own health for a long time.
Mm-hmm. No longer.
Yes, so that was my original motivation.
Yeah, and Lisa, you got involved with this through the health games, and then
Correct.
Wanted more support, and so started working with Linda as a coach one-on-one, correct?
Correct.
Yep. And now Lisa's looking at the coaching opportunity and what it's like to sort of maybe take it to another level. So she's going to be hosting the Habits of Health call that Dee Garcia did on breast cancer. So we'll come back to you later. Welcome, Lisa.
All right. Thank you.
This is the gang. Yep. Who else would like to introduce themselves if you're a first timer?
Hi.
Hi.
I'm Dawn, and
Yes.
I was invited by Carrie. Super excited to be here.
Mm-hmm.
My health has just become vital at this stage of my life to take care of myself. And in the process, it's only been a couple weeks, but I feel alive again. I'm so excited about it that I want to share this with pretty much everybody I know. So I'm so excited. I love the program. I love the people. I love the community. the education. I just can't say enough. So thanks for
I
having
go
me.
to
Yes, you're welcome. Good to see you.
And minor detail, she signed up to be a health coach this morning.
Woo, 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 woo.
On our team now.
Yes, I thought I knew it was coming. I'm glad to have you. Yeah.
Very cool.
Well, and the way that we do this training as a health coach, it's an apprentice style. So it really is on the job training. And believe it or not, everybody that's been a client already has a pretty good amount of familiarity with what we coach. You all know what the 5 and 1 is. You all know there's a habits of health system. You all know about support. Everybody, you have a coach. So you already know probably more than you might think about what coaching, about how this program works and what this program is. So anyway, that's the story there. Anybody else we have as a guest?
I'm Nikki. I was invited by Kim Decker. She was a coach of my coach, and I'm a massage therapist, and I also work in subrogation support during the day. Always busy. I'm finding that I'm 3/4 of the way through the weight loss phase of my journey here, and I definitely need to keep it going. My life is definitely changing, my goals and everything like that. And the piece that really ties everything together and keeps me going is the community. So I really need to expand that part of it, and glad to be here.
Yeah, this is one of the many ways that we offer to expand your community. But believe it or not, Nikki, our community got expanded because you showed up. I don't know if sometimes we don't look at it from that ways, right? But we get to receive from you joining, and hopefully we'll give as well. So it's a two-way street. So thanks for being here. I'm actually have a background in massage therapy as well. I don't know about subrogation or whatever that word meant, but I probably don't do any of that.
I have a background in getting massages.
Yes. Sweet. That's right. So there's some reciprocation. All right. Anybody else? First timer? Looks like everybody else is a familiar face. So,
Hey, Craig, I just wanted to jump in and say I'm excited to see you all this morning. How you doing?
Yep. Hi, Alex.
Hi, I'm Alex McMillan, and Craig Blanchett invited me to this community about 6 years ago through one of his coaches. That coach chose to go another career path, but I, through this levels of mentorship that we have, linked arms with Craig really strongly in the beginning. And, here we are 6 years later with thousands of people who have been inspired. And, you were just mentioning Nikki, coming on board, and was it Dawn? And there was another person. Where's she at? Lisa. Oh, Lisa. Yeah. Outgoing Lisa. I love it. So each person, you have no idea how many people your life might touch. And that's not in a pressureful way. It's amazing. I had no idea that I would invite so many people to this community when you and I met, Craig. And I just wanted to come back to that. Mm-hmm. My inspiration to us as a team is, if you're taking notes on this morning, when you hear Lisa, Dawn, and Nikki's stories, or you hear other people tell, think about who that makes you think of, and write their names down and meditate on that a little bit, and see what happens.
Yeah, it's interesting, Alex, as you're saying that. Believe it or not, everybody that's here right now, you were what Alex just said to do, somebody did for you. Mm-hmm. It's kind of a weird thing to think
your
about.
Your name hit a piece of paper.
Yeah, your name was
or
on a piece
something
of
like that.
Yep, because they thought about you and they cared about you, and they said, this person, we would love to have this person as part of our community. And so you got invited, right? Mm-hmm. So great stuff, guys. Wow, Carrie just popped in. Nice.
I know, I was like, what is up? Carrie.
Yeah. He's probably getting his audio still going.
Yeah, we're giving him props and he can't hear it.
Yep, that's right. He'll
Still
be back. We'll come back to him. So let's go ahead and toss it over to Lisa. So we're going to give you 3 to 4 minutes. And what we'd like to have you start off with is what call, who was the host of the call, and if you have the date. And the reason why that is because then we can go back in if this sounds interesting or someone comes to mind, we'll be able to find it easily. And so welcome, Lisa.
Okay. Well, the call that I really enjoyed was with Dr. Delia. I think her last name is Garcia. Mm-hmm. And I believe the date was October 5th. It was very recent. And Linda knows me well enough to know this would be totally in my wheelhouse. And so she told me to listen. So her essentially her talk, she's an oncologist who specializes in breast cancer and is also a health coach. And her talk was a lot about the connection between being unhealthy and obesity and cancer specifically, which we don't typically think of those as a connection. And so I'll just share a couple things that stood out to me personally, which so much of it just goes in line with what I've heard through Take Shape for Life as their philosophy. But the concept of prevention versus reactive healthcare. So often we wait until we're sick to go figure out the problem versus starting earlier and living a healthy lifestyle and preventing those things. I work in geriatric rehab as a physical therapist. I see a lot of people down, kind of what Dr. A talked about, downstream. People have had total knee replacements, people have had limb amputations from diabetes, people have had, and I treat those things, but it never dawned on me that my own health journey could help me back upstream and maybe help some of those people not develop those problems that I end up treating as a therapist. For some reason, that was like a light bulb moment for me. The other thing, a couple other things, she talked about a study where the only variable was eating well, and they looked at how much that helped people in the disease process. And one of her quotes said, if we had a drug that did this, it would make millions. And what it is food. So, we as Americans are so easy to just want to pop a pill and not recognizing that food and proper food and nutrition and those things can actually heal us from the inside out. So I thought that was really awesome. So let's see. So along with Take Shape for Life, what I really enjoyed was what I have enjoyed as a healthcare professional is how sound the medicine is, and that this is not just a diet trend. There's been so much in the industry that you tend to get cynical about, not believe anymore. And this Take Shape for Life just seems to be so well-founded in sound medicine. And so that's probably why I really appreciated hearing from an MD. And then the last thing, which doesn't really have anything to do necessarily with her position as a physician, but at the very end of her talk, she said, never use your kids as an excuse to not choose health. And how many times have I said, oh, I don't have time to exercise. Oh, I don't have time to plan good meals. Oh, I don't have time. I have 4 children. I homeschool them. So I am on duty 24/7. And I've used my kids as an excuse for years. And she said, they are not your excuse. They are your reason for choosing health. And so as a mother, that really resonated with me to change that perspective. So those were a few things that stood out to me. Really enjoyed that talk.
Awesome. Thanks, Lisa, so much. I heard someone say, don't let your reasons become your excuses.
Yeah.
Right? Because they start off with the reason why we want to get healthy, and then they become, I can't do that. I got to go and do this. Yeah. And she just reverse engineered that, which is great. Mm-hmm. Thank you so much, Lisa. That was excellent. I know usually we dogpile and we have some feedback and some questions or some comments. So let's open the floor up for folks that want to. Hi, Dean. You can be first in line.
Oh, that was awesome, Lisa. Thanks for the synopsis and the summary. And I just so appreciate. Those items that you mentioned are just so true. Lost a friend of mine this week from the diabetes. Eventually his system shut down. Not a real close friend, but it's just in watching his life. I observed him going through these things, and it's just so hard. It's heartbreaking to watch that. It's heartbreaking to see people going through that when you know that you have an answer. And when I try to explain to people what I'm doing now, I'm trying to phrase it in a way that says, well, I'm not just a health coach, or I'm not a weight loss guy, but I'm trying to live a life to its fullest. And so I have to try to explain it in a way that people can connect with, because they always seem to go right to you're the weight loss guy type of thing, or that mentality that's just so part of our culture, and unfortunately, and with the misunderstanding. So thanks so much. That was great.
Mm-hmm. Who else wants to has a comment or some feedback?
I'll jump in real quick if I'm not interrupting.
Hi, Lynn.
Alex, amazing things to say, so I'm going to let him go after me because he'll say something fabulous. But Lisa, I just so appreciate, I think you and I have been walking this health journey together for just, well, as long as the Healthy Games, and she actually reached out to me, and I've learned more, I think, from you than I've ever expected. And some of it is just how to be a mom in this crazy journey. And I didn't pull that out of the talk of, I do this for my kids. They're not an excuse. So that's going to stay in my mind as I embrace this new journey that I'm on. So thank you for being on here and being a part of my life and bringing so much to this team. I'm so thankful for you.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Alex,
well, I wasn't going to say anything, but Linda said I was, so now I will. What you actually made me think of, Lisa, aside from that was a great call, and go back to that, is you reminded me of when I first fell in love with Take Shape for Life, and how many people I thought of this would be good for, if the things you're bringing out. And I love that renewed sense. So every time I see a new person come on that brings that energy, I just wake up again. That's what it's about. It's about sharing it. So thank you.
Mm-hmm. That's perfect. Alex, that's kind of I want to give a charge to the rest of you, or maybe even a little bit of a challenge. Who do you know that we need to be part of this community? Think of that. We have these wonderful people in our lives that have so much to offer, and they're just a light. And it's like, man, if they would join our community, it's not only that they may need our community, but we need them to be part of this. And so I love how some of you I've issued this challenge regularly. How else are they going to find this? Think about that. We can show up because we know the secret. We know that we can have some really cool community here, and we can talk about some really important things. But how are people going to find this? I mean, you're not, you don't come here by accident. So think about, for those of you that are coaches that have clients, who could you ask, and the hint is maybe every one of your clients, that they could listen to one of the support calls and then come in and give us some feedback, just like Lisa did. These things are amazing, and we need the more people we have here. We've got 24 people on our live meeting this morning, and think of it. We have an opportunity to learn at a 25x factor, right? Think about it, because everybody here can contribute something that you wouldn't get if it was just one-on-one. So it looks like we have somebody that joined in on the telephone as well, and Taya. So let's see here. I don't know if Taya, on your phone, you can hit *6 and that'll unmute you. I mean, I'd love to hear who invited you, where you're from, and just maybe one or two things about your journey, if you can.
She might have just hopped on.
Yeah. All right. I'm not sure which phone number she is, but
she's the 813.
813. Okay, let's see if.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, loud and clear. You did it.
Okay.
Hi,
great. Hey, so full disclosure, I've got a passenger with me, so hopefully we don't have any singing in the background, but if you do, it's so you're aware.
Yeah.
So Linda Benson and Craig invited me to sit on this call, and I jumped in and just been listening along. I actually started this whole journey right after we had our 5th baby about a year and a half ago on the Nursing Moms program, and had some great success there. And then we just had quite a bit of change in our life. We relocated across country, started a new job, all this kind of thing. And took a step away, had some setbacks and things like that, and just had a great, really encouraging call with them this week. And just getting back on board, moving forward kind of slowly but surely. So
awesome. Well, welcome. Glad to have you this morning. I hope you're encouraged by what you've heard. And
very much so. Thank you.
Excellent. All right. I'm going to mute you again. And so we have a return to the health coach huddle, and somebody that I've known for a long time and has quite a story. And we're just going to take, I don't know, maybe 5 minutes here and bring on Carrie. Carrie, yeah, let's unmute you and just tell us a little bit about your journey. He's like the bionic man now. He had a lot of replacement parts put in, but think about this, is that he had to get to a certain level of health before he could get some new hardware. And we worked together. And so tell us, welcome back, Carrie, by the way. So good to see you again.
Okay, I didn't expect to say hi so quickly, so I'm leaving now. Then it was good seeing you. Thank you.
Exactly. Sure. So just give us just a kind of a little synopsis, kind of where you started, and then the transformation as you got some new hardware, and then kind of what life is like now, because I know that walking is a different thing for you now.
I'll give you some snapshots so we can get quickly to the present, but started my journey. The doctor weighed me in at 399 pounds at my heaviest. And it was at a point where I was so crippled and had such poor eating habits, I could no longer mask my eating addictions, sugar, fast food, fried foods. Oh man, I love it all. And I still love it. Baby back ribs and cheesecake you give to me today, I'll turn it down because I'm on program. So life is good. So, you know, a couple people in my life spoke truth into my life. They spoke words of truth. Craig was one of them, and my dietitian was the other. And basically the words were things like, the mirror doesn't lie, your scale doesn't lie. You know, your A1C diabetic numbers at 10.8 and at a fasting blood sugar of 430, you know, those numbers don't lie. And so it was time for me to make a change, and the pain was enough to draw me into a decision. And so I lost, over 10 months, lost 132 pounds. And in February, I qualified for a hip replacement. And 13 weeks later, I got 2 new knees. So in 13 weeks, got 3 major joints replaced. And who's the young lady that was speaking earlier? What's her name? What's her name?
Yeah,
Lisa? Well, really, she was so on point with so many things in my life. I no longer have 7 diseases. What cured those 7 diseases? What made them go away? Fueling my body properly and healthfully. Those things cured 7 diseases, along with the weight loss, taking care of a lot of those. I can name them: diabetes, high blood pressure, venous insufficiency, which the doctor says I still have, but I don't have swollen legs that weigh 40 pounds, you know, each calf weighing 40 to 50 pounds. And being so big, I couldn't even get jeans on, you know, and having discoloration from the red blood cells that leach through they can't make it back to the heart, that have to leach through the skin, and you have purple and brown skin and scaly skin, and it's all gone. My legs are pretty and new. I wish I could bring them up high enough. Anyway, so the diseases are gone. I'm fueling my body properly. I've got new joints. I am walking a mile every morning. I'm on a bike. I'm working out. And here's the most important thing I can share with people to share with their clients. The takeaway for me is I could not walk more than 100 feet to and from my car to get in an electric cart. The grocery store was my favorite place to be, or Walmart, because they have electric carts. And it's the only time I could get out of my house. I could not do anything else for 6 years. I walked with a cane. I was completely crippled, and I did 0 exercise and lost 132 pounds in 10 months, fueling my body properly, never being hungry, and loving life every second of the way. So that's kind of where we're at now. And so I tried to do the short version for you.
Yeah, no, that's so good. I know that some of you have seen Carrie before and have him come back. Yeah, I don't know if you guys want to give some feedback or maybe some things that stood out to you. It's pretty powerful stuff we're a part of here.
Carrie, can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Taya and I, the gal on the phone, were just texting about how amazing your story is. And you're inspiring us. And she's a mom of 5 kids, and yet she's saying, listen to this guy. This is incredible. You're inspiring her, and you're not even in the same state, and you're definitely not a mom. So keep it up, Carrie. It's incredible to get to, you can't buy this kind of stuff. It's incredible. So
Can I comment on that, Linda?
Yeah.
Always.
Yeah. What I need to tell you is I would not have made this journey here without inspiring people in this huddle that kept me inspired and excited. I could not have done it without them. And that's the most important thing I think I left out. So I apologize and just want to make sure everybody understands that community and support and encouragement, it was so easy because of people. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you know, Moses couldn't lift his arms any longer when he was praying to God, and people held up his arms. And that's what it's like. It's like the community holding up my arms when I no longer have the strength to hold up my own arms to pray and worship and to do the right thing. Mm-hmm. And it's just a beautiful thing. So thank you.
Well, and Carrie, too, one of the things that's interesting is, Carrie's my client, so I'm his coach directly. And so even I knew that he was going through all these kind of things, and it's not like our community left. Our community stayed here. But he left, and he got some more experience, and he had to work some things out. And then I called him yesterday, and I said, Carrie, when are we going to see you again? I miss you, And he's like, well, I'm not going to say I'll be there, but I'm thinking about it. And so I shot him a little text this morning, and then here he is. And look at all the faces that are smiling, and some of them are actually having some waterworks, right? And so thanks for showing up. I don't know if you realize it, but we needed you here just as much as you needed to be here, it sounds like. So I love that that's what we do here, and that's part of this community. So thanks for coming back.
Thanks, Craig.
I'm glad you came with a bunch of great stories, too.
Oh,
there we go. The Rocky, yeah, that's right. Nice work. That's funny. All right, guys. So anyway, so we're going to move on into a little bit more. So I'm just going to kind of do just a bit of a recap there. This is the stuff we do regularly, and I personally need this as part of it's too hard to keep all the things together and to stay connected by myself. I just, life happens and it comes and goes. Right. And so now you guys know that we have this place here, and this is really the culture and the community that Take Shape for Life says is critical. The meal, sometimes we think that our program is about these fuelings, because that's what we're putting in our mouth, and that's what we're doing, regularly every day. And but it turns out that when it really comes down to it, the meal, those fuelings that we have and the ways that we eat are so secondary and tertiary to what really changes people. Dr. A told me, he says, optimal health does not live in a fueling. Optimal health lives in a community. And so that's why we do this community, and that's why Take Shape for Life. This isn't something that we just believe in. This is the company and the movement that we're all part of believes in. So it's trickled down. This is not something, we're not trying to influence a company. A company is influencing us. And so I love that part. So at this point, we're going to make a slight transition here, and we're going to go into a little bit of details about kind of every time we're on here, we want to do guest introductions. We want to talk about some health ideas, and then we want to go into a little bit of a practical training. What do we do with these things? And so last week, when you guys were on the meeting, I talked about what it looks like to do great client support. And one of the key pieces that I find with client support is sometimes I'll be working with people for a couple of years. You guys know Phyllis. You've heard her name, and I've been working with Phyllis for four years. And we started out with weekly calls. And then after 3 years, after she had lost her 136 pounds, we moved to twice a month. And now we talk once a month, because she's nailing it. She's 119 pounds every week. Maybe she's a 120. Sometimes she's 118, right? And she's 60 something. She's now retired. And, her big idea was to ride a motorcycle this last year. That was her big new thing she wanted to do. And so she had a motorcycle ride this summer. But working with people for many, many years, sometimes your weekly calls can get fairly, lifeless and sort of boring, and so why would we, they don't have to. So we want to talk about a system that Take Shape for Life has for tracking our clients. There's an actual system where you take notes on what their goals are, and then you can follow up on those goals over time, and help them to continue to move to that next thing that they want to do. And as we start off here, I'd like just a little bit of discussion from folks that have been coaching a while about some of the realities of the weekly connections with our coaches. Sometimes when they don't answer the phone, or sometimes they do answer the phone, you're not sure what to say. So anybody here want to just give a little bit of background on their own challenges in that area? I know some of you guys have been around coaching for a while. I know Linda's been around a long time. Kim's been around a while.
Craig, I'll jump in. It's Betsy.
Hi, Betsy.
I find a lot of my clients get stuck, and every week is the same conversation, and it's difficult. It's a real challenge for me as a coach to help them get out of their own way. I mean, I can say for myself personally, I get in my own way more than my coach. His assistance is amazing, and I get in my own way. So how can we help clients see the bigger picture?
Mm-hmm.
For people that don't see it, I've done the dreaming, I've done the hope, I've done all of that, and I get, but.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a big challenge I have.
Yep, that's good. I'm going to write that down. Who else has a couple comments about kind of your experience coaching for a while and how those weekly check-ins look? Linda, do you have anything? Linda, Alex, Kim, I know you guys have been coaching a while. Diane, Daniela, there you go. Hi.
Hey, so I think for me, one of the biggest challenges are, and maybe this is what Betsy was also saying, I'm not 100% clear, but one of the biggest challenges is when we ask the questions and they don't answer it, which they don't always need to answer it to us, right? They need to answer it for themselves. But when it's pretty clear that they're not investing even the 5 minutes to kind of think about that answer, and yet they still expect something to change. When we've set out the journey in a way that we believe is pretty clear, that this is a two-way relationship, that this is a mind challenge more than it is a body challenge, and yet they're just not ready to engage the mind in that journey. Helping them get there.
Yeah. Okay. That's great. So the personal investment and what it really takes. Sometimes I heard somebody say when people do New Year's resolutions that it takes 8 years before the resolutions stick. And because they're calibrating each year, they're like, okay, I think it'll take this to get to my goal. And then after a few months, they realize, oof, that wasn't nearly enough. So a whole year goes by, and then January comes around, they're like, okay, let's do that again. So they do what they did last year, maybe plus a little bit more. And it takes 8 years to eventually calibrate to adding enough to get the result they wanted. Well, with our program with Dr. A's Habits of Health and with working with a health coach, we can condense that 8 years into a much smaller piece of time, because you don't have 10 months in between your attempts to get after it. But it does take a while for it to go from a desire and intention to what it takes to actually exercise those or practice those things. So yeah, it just takes some time to get the brain fully on. Most people that are working with you have done dieting all their life, and they think of this as a weight loss diet program. And they realize when you talk to them that didn't work before, and it's not going to work this time. It may be a little bit of some different terminology, but if all they're trying to do is lose weight, they probably will. And that's all they'll do.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, that's not all they'll do. After they lose the weight, they're going to gain the weight back, because that's all they've ever done. So if we actually look at this as a lifestyle change, to change the life that you live and the style at how you integrate with your life, you'll lose some weight along the way, most likely. But because you've changed your lifestyle, or you're changing, you'll get a different outcome. So, So, okay, we'll talk about that a little bit here. How about you, Kim? What do you have for us?
Oh, I think that those challenges that have already been stated are, I agree with. I heard a comment in another training too, just about making sure that we plug our clients into the network, into the community. And I feel like I can speak with passion about how important that is for me. I can make suggestions. I can ask questions and try to determine whether or not that's something that they would be interested in. And yet still, even with all of those different, and I may be missing some soft skills here or there that I could improve on. I'm sure I am. But yeah, I guess that's a piece is helping people to engage in the community. I do think that once they are fully engaged, when you see somebody, you have conversations with those people, all of a sudden the weekly calls aren't boring. They aren't the same thing, because they have stuff to offer in return. And so I guess that's a challenge that I continue to face. And I guess that really boils down to helping the client just awaken to that. And it is being more than just a diet. I mean, that's a hard shift to make, because, to be honest, that's where I started. I started on a diet.
Mm-hmm. We all did.
I quickly embraced that there was more. But I think for me, that seemed more automatic, and I don't know what it was that did that for me. Mm-hmm. And so I guess identifying that to be able to bring that to other people would be awesome.
Excellent. So these are some great pointers. I see a lot of I want to know that too. And, full disclosure, it's difficult. One of the things that I told Terry and David, who I mentor with, many of you know them, is I said, I want to build they said, what kind of team do you want? And I said, well, I want a team where everybody stays healthy. And they said, well, you might be able to work on that for you, but you can't control them. And I was like, ugh. And I said, well, so I want to create a culture where we model health even after you become a health coach, that we stay healthy. And I think we're doing a pretty good job. But they said, some will and some won't. And so you might get disappointed because some people do gain their weight back, and so full disclosure here is sometimes just because we want it for them, it's not enough if they don't want it themselves. And so I love what you said there, Kim, is the awakening process. And that really is when they've been awakened to something and they get excited about it and it becomes their desire. That's the magic ingredient. Doing that, there's a lot of strategies for doing that. And so we'll talk about a couple strategies. One of the things, though, that I want you to, everybody that's here, maybe with just a blink your eyes or raise your hand, do you feel like you have greater appreciation for what we're doing here on Fridays than you did before, based upon the guests that spoke and the stories that were told, right? So there was something that awakened in you because you're like, oh man, those are some great stories. This is some great feedback. I got something of value that's changed me a little bit. I grew today, right? And so I keep inviting you guys to invite people to this call, this meeting. And one of the strategies that I use for that is, you know how some people say they won't do it for themselves, but they'll do it for somebody else. I'm too busy taking care of everybody else that I just don't take care of myself. Well, what if we use that human trait for their good? And so here's what that looks like. And I'll just role play here, with Linda. So Linda, hey, I have a favor. I've been asked to cover one of our support calls on Fridays. And it takes about 3 minutes. And I'm wondering if you'd help me out. Linda would say.
Sure.
Yeah. So here's what that looks like.
Absolutely.
Let me tell you a little bit of what that looks like. You're going to listen to a 30-minute on-demand podcast about a topic on health. And then you're going to give take a few notes, and then you'll present it to the team of health coaches. And the reason why we love that is because we always love an outsider's perspective to give us a new angle on stuff, because we're all trying to reinforce these healthy habits. So that would be great. So I ask her to help me with something. And how often have we had people listen to a support call for the very first time? We've told them it's there for them. Hey, this would be really good value for you. And we just get crickets. They don't do it. But as soon as I ask them to do it for me, they listen to it. And then all of a sudden they go, I had no idea these calls were that great. Right? So now you guys see a little bit of the strategy that I've been deploying for years is, let's just use people's human nature for them. Right? So there's one way that you can awaken somebody to the support community that's available, by asking them to do you a favor. Lisa, we did that with you today. And you listened to it and you were like, yeah, this is great. Hey, thanks for strategizing on how this can help me. Right? And so we had another guy, his name's Ken, and he was just a client on John Lifeite's team. And 2 weeks later, he became a coach, because he listened to his very first support call and came onto the call here and got to meet all of you guys and was like, this is great. So now he has 3 or 4 clients. 3 or 4 human beings' lives are now getting access to this because I asked him to do me a favor. Think of how crazy that is. Right? So these are some things that I've done to help people awaken to the support community. And another thing that I'll do on a weekly basis with clients is I'll say this. I try to do this once a month. So what if in your scheduling software for your clients, you went out 1 month and you wrote a question, you went on another month, wrote a question, wrote another month and wrote a question. So you didn't have to be a genius and remember everything in the future. You actually just gave yourself a little note. So when your future self comes across that note, you go, oh, that's a great question. And that question is, remind me again as to why you wanted to start this whole thing with me. And you're having them reiterate, recycle their dreams. You wrote them down. They probably didn't. Think of that. A health coach writes down one of our clients' dreams. They're not our dreams. They're our clients' dreams. But we track their dreams. It's that important. Well, they probably just came up with them. They didn't write them down, so they may not ever happen. So we ask them, remind me again why this was you do it. And that's another way to reawaken that. Okay, so you wanted more than weight loss. I mean, you wanted what we're doing to include the weight loss, but you wanted to keep the weight off. Ah, great. Okay, so let's talk about some of the things that are going to be allies for you in that. That's another way. So these are just some different ways of reawakening and reminding them. You're trying to cast vision on the desire of what they want and remind them about their trip to Europe that they want to go on in 2 years. It will never happen if you don't continue to remind them about that dream, because it may be more of a fantasy in their minds. A lot of times we've learned to fantasize. We haven't learned to dream. We settle or we fantasize, but we don't actually dream and go after stuff. So anyway, so I'm going to jump. So there's just a couple of conversations to the, helping people to the bigger picture. We talked about that. The personal vet of what's it really going to take? When someone has one of the questions that we ask often, and I'll show it to you on one of the file folder systems, is it's called, are you satisfied with your results this week? And if they say yes, ask them why. Because they may have not made any progress and they may be satisfied with that 0 progress. So that's a great question. So the file folder systems, believe it or not, we're kind of in a, for those of us that have been coaching for a while, there was these folders that were printed out and they had some terminology that were on those that kind of got lost in the shuffle, and we're working on those. But a lot of coaches that I spoke to about the file folders is they go back to those old things and they actually ask those questions. So I'm going to put those up on the screen for you here so you can see those, because these are amazing questions that that people can ask. And so this one, for example, this is week number 1. It has some things. These are all send a welcome email. That's all part of the current system. But one of these things, eat every 2 hours, drink at least. So remind clients to do the following. So I've just changed these into questions. Eat every 2 hours. So how often are you eating? How much water are you drinking? Have you had all of your fuelings each day? Tell me about your exercise. So these are some basic questions that you can ask. But even more, in addition to that, here is file folder number 2, which is, these are some great questions. Let's see here. Are you guys seeing there? That's file folder number 3. Let's see here. Here's 2. So how are you feeling? Important questions to ask about their program. Some things to emphasize. So some of you have these old file folders and they were available digitally, and I'll put these up on the Optimal Health Coach page. But these are just some things. Actually, I'm just going to pop these into the chat message here so that you guys have them there as well. But these are some things that I go through every once in a while just to remind myself about some good dialogue to ask. Ask important questions about their program. Let's see here. Did I copy that? Copy. Paste. I don't know if that's typing it in there or not. Let's see here. Yeah, anyway, well, I'll get these out on the Optimal Health Coach page. But there's a great one. And then there's a third folder that talks about here's some recommended, some readings, build on referrals, maybe send them a weekly email, and then look for potential health coaches. So the reason why I want to look for potential health coaches is it's for everyone's benefit, including theirs. People that health coach keep their weight off longer than people that don't. And so that's personal investment there. They build community, not just through their own personal journey, but now it becomes more of a personal and professional process. Right. So these are a couple of these file folders that I've gone back to and then I use. The current system, I'm going to go into the current system now, where you can go in and set up your health coach. So in, yes, sir. Go for it. Yep. Take a pause. Yep.
Yeah. So great information. Yeah. Some of you are first time seeing this are probably going, okay, that's a lot of stuff, a lot of little things to remember. It's super important to remember why we use that before we go on and take any more of it in.
Yep, perfect.
And also understand that, if you're more digital versus you like to see tangible printed out, you get to pick which one works best that you're actually going to do. But the key is there's a path that leads to optimal health, and we want to place people on that path and then help guide them along it, because there's a lot of little side roads that could take them off. These questions are the guiding tap rod and staff that kind of keep us on that path that leads us to that optimal health. So just want to take that little mindful moment.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you for that. Yeah. What's interesting is that sometimes I call up and, I'm sure some of you have this and they say, so tell me about your week. Okay. So last week you were going to do this and that. How'd that go? I didn't, I did, whatever. Okay. And sometimes I bring up weight at some point. So what'd the scale say this week? Yeah, I've learned different ways of asking that question. So what'd you weigh? Or, so what'd the scale say? Or have you been on the scale this week? What'd it say? Progress. Okay, great. Yes, no. And if they ever say, I didn't want to tell you I gained weight, I always stop and I say, tell me about that. Why would you care that you gained weight? Why would you think that I would have an issue with that? And that's a good little conversation, because I say, you know what, whether you gain weight or lose weight, it's your program. I'm just here to help you with what you said you wanted. So if you gain weight, okay, let's talk about it. And I try to take the idea, weight gain equals bad, weight loss equals good, or taken one step further, weight gain equals I am bad, weight loss equals I am good. That's a very, very common thing. And it's just a current reality. An example I use in that is when you look in the mirror and or let's say you get up in the morning and you have something on your face. If you don't have a current reality check, as in the mirror, how would you know? Now that current reality is going to change when you wipe it off your face or you wash your face. So the weight on the scale is only a current reality. Right? It's not yesterday's reality. It's not tomorrow's reality. It's just the current reality. So let's actually not overemphasize the scale, but let's not emphasize it. We have to have a good current reality. Otherwise, we'll walk out of the house with stuff on our face and we won't know. So we have to have that mirror to say, where am I right now? So I always have a little more dialogue where we get kind of a little deeper and then talk about their concepts with the scale, because some people just throw the scale out and don't ever measure, and that's its own challenge. It's not a solution. That's it could be a strategy temporarily, but so anyway, to just I'm going to just do an overview of the file folder system. You guys, first of all, where to go find it. So if you're a coach, if you're not a coach yet, you can just get a perspective. Here's an example. We live in New York and we're going to drive to the Grand Canyon. I don't need to give you every little details how we're going to get there, but there's going to be some details as we go. So just-in-time training would be, every 5 miles, what turns I need to make. But as you start the journey, you sort of look at a map and you go, I'm here and I'm kind of going over there. Oh, that gives me perspective. Now we're going to focus in on what we need to do right now as we move along. So this idea, for those of you that are first-time coaches, is I'm giving you sort of that overview. We do have a system that allows you to track your clients and allows you to progress them forward. And so this is that kind of overview. And then the details, if you're not a coach yet, your next step would be, well, think about joining us. And then there's some steps that you actually do to find your first client. And they are all around you, by the way. One of the first questions that coaches ask me is, where am I going to find clients? They're everywhere. Everybody that I've ever talked to has answered this question, yes, when I've asked, are you as healthy as you want to be? Nobody has said no. Nobody has said yes. Everybody has said no. And it's like, oh, me too. And they're like, what? Well, you're healthier than I am. Yeah, but I'm not as healthy as I want to be. So everybody around you could benefit from what we're doing here because we're becoming healthier. Some weight loss, some not. All right, so here's the where you go. So if you go into your back office, you can go up here where it says resources, and then and underneath resources, anyway, it's in there. So you get into the unified training system. And one of the pieces in there is how to use your client and health coach support system. So you can just read through this instructions, tracking system. So we need we need a well-being evaluation. We need your people that you're actually going to track on who you want to contact. We need the well-being tracker, you know, and then it goes through here. You have different sections. Section 1 is follow-up, staying connected with people. Section 2, new clients. Section 3 is active clients. And you guys see that from there. And then once you begin sharing the Take Shape for Life with your candidates, you'll have 3 possible outcomes. So I'm not going to read all this for you, but you can see they'll say yes, they'll say maybe, they'll just say no, thank you, right? And then you kind of move through this. So this helps you if you go through this to actually, what I would do is I would probably take maybe 2 hours and go through and actually build your folder, your health coach tracking system. And then here you can have the digital method of doing it, or you can use the paper method. Now it just depends on what your skill set is. The paper method, I think everybody can pretty much do that. And so this goes through this. But if you haven't done this yet, and you've only, I only have 1 or 2 clients, I don't need to do this. Well, I would say that build the foundation for you to be able to help more. And as they come along, you'll be able to support them and you won't get frazzled. And so it has all these details of how to create this system. And then, so that's how to build it. And this particular, there's another document in there where it has all the little documents, your connections list, health coach tracker, you know. By the way, some people ask me why we have a well-being tracker and then why we have another one called the health tracker. And the health tracker was designed to be used for medical practices that are primarily focusing on the physical change that we offer. And so, believe it or not, all the questions that are on the health tracker are also on the well-being tracker. So I just use this for everybody. And there's a section here where it talks about health. And then there's a section here where it talks about medications and things like that they're doing. And then on page 2 is where you can take your notes. So this is our system of doing it. Talks about how to set it up and then all the documentation on here. And you can find this in your back office under training, and it's called Unified Training System. And I believe it's under client support. So that was...
Craig, I have a question.
Yep.
The file folder system that you were showing with the actual folders with the tabs that can either be printed out or just left on electronically, where were those? Because I don't think they're on that same document you were just scrolling through.
No, those are going to be in, I'm going to post those to the Optimal Health Coach page because they've been discontinued. And I just think there's a bit of a gap right now into realizing that how useful some of those pieces are as we upgraded our system to the unified system. So right now we're kind of in an in-between phase until they bring a little bit of this content back in. As we continue to grow, they're fine-tuning stuff. And sometimes we throw out stuff that, well, wait a minute, that was really useful. So I'm going to put those on the, I don't know of another way to do it. You can't find them anymore. So I just have them because I've been coaching for a long time. I have 3 different versions of them actually because they constantly upgrade them. So I will put those, if you're not part of the Optimal Health Coach Facebook group, then talk to your coach and have them introduce you and add you to that. But I'll put them in the file section. So at Optimal Health Coach, there's a file section. It'll say file folders with questions, something like that.
So the point of having those is that you can have a place to know that if you're supporting a new person who's just getting started, all the questions are on the front of that file folder tab. You can take the well-being tracker and stick it in right behind that. And if you're doing electronic, you can have it in the same folder that you've created with that one. So you can call that folder week 1 and put everybody that's in there, the well-being tracker in there. Then you can move them out of that folder into week 2 or beyond the first week, the first month, if you will. Right. And so on and so forth. That's the relevance of what you're talking about, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Because we have to, sometimes people coach and they try to keep 1 or 2 clients. You can keep all that stuff in your head pretty well. But you get to a point where you start helping more people and you get frantic. And then you have to go back and retool. And so as a new coach, if you want to help more than 2 people, then build your system, build the capacity to be able to handle them. And there's also, here's something I'm going to speak a little bit directly about. There's a professionalism to what we're doing here. Think about it. we're helping people at the very fabric of their lives, managing the process of extending their life, like Carrie. If you're not taking this seriously, do you understand what you're doing, what you're part of? You're part of someone's actual life, and they are counting on you as their coach. Nobody has two coaches. Have you thought about that? We have one health coach, and that health coach is managing their process. So be a great coach. That's my encouragement to you.
And we have this community, and we have a system to help us serve the people.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so important that we connect with that we don't want to get so caught up in the systems thinking I've got to be a perfectionist and know all this. It's really not about all that. And we use that to help us serve better.
Mm-hmm.
And if that thing is becoming so systemic that it overwhelms us, we need to leave it alone, put it on the shelf, go back to serving people and caring, and maybe just take one little piece of it to make you a little better.
Mm-hmm. Well,
I just want to say one last thing. And if you have a problem where you resist structure, then maybe you need some coaching on that piece, personal development, personal growth, because most of us, this is the thing, 97% of people who have entrepreneurial minds resist structure and actually hate it, even though it's the very thing that's going to allow us to have some level.
It actually gives you freedom. The structure for an entrepreneurial actually allows you to be super successful. And I was a big, I'm a pretty spontaneous guy, and I didn't like structure. It weighed me down, but I've been able to flourish because I've been able to build some systems.
Who else feels that way? Who else feels that sometimes you just like structure, like time,
I just wrote down,
stick to it. Whereas other people who flourishes with structure, who actually loves it, and it's what keeps you sane and you feel that way. Yeah.
I do now. I just wrote down
their hand, and they're just like,
I just wrote down on this list file folders with this and a little checkbox next to it, because I want to make sure. I just made you all a promise that I would provide something for you in a specific place.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what if I just went on to the next thing? I got distracted and didn't do it.
Yeah.
So, all right. So we got some action items now. Every time we have one of these meetings, we want to end with one action item. And we're not following up on the action items with you specifically because they're your action items. And if you don't want to do them, don't.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, quite frankly. So even if you're a guest on here, and think about this. So we're just going to go around the room. You get like 20 seconds, maybe less, to say, based upon what I've heard today, I'm going to do this. It might be I'm going to, take notes better, or who knows what it is. But everybody, I'd like to have one action item that you complete today. Like you work on, you go get after it and get that done today. And maybe think calling somebody you haven't talked to in a while because they came to your mind, because Carrie's story maybe re-inspired you. So we're going to start. Lisa, I'll unmute you. You have one action item that's come about from this meeting this morning?
I'd like to talk with Linda more about what coaching really looks like.
Okay, let's do that afterwards. All right. Oh man, it just says iPad, and I forgot your first name.
Dawn?
Dawn, yes. Oh, yeah, there you go.
Hi.
Hi.
Yeah, this is all brand new here since this morning. So I would say for me, it would be building that foundation first that you talked about, and so I can be ready for all these fabulous clients I'm going to find.
Yep.
And just be a great coach.
Yep, be a great coach. So for you, Dawn, your first thing is to build your contact list, because you don't need a file folder system until you have one client, right?
I have a client.
You have one. Awesome. Okay. Awesome. And so the next step for you would be to connect with Carrie, and then we'll help you with that next step. Yep.
Got it.
Good. So good. Yep. Kim.
Oh, goodness. Okay. I've been thinking, I'm going to make a list of ideas for my client check-in videos. So I do a weekly video. So I'm going to make a list of topic ideas. So that's
great. Yeah. And when you have new ideas that come along, you have that list already. You can just pop them in there. Then when you're frantic, you're like, oh, I have a whole list of them. That's a great
One thing that's really cool about that is make that list. And then when you start doing your personal development throughout the week, you'll hear things that are relevant to those topics, and you want to run to that list and start writing it down immediately. And if you aren't good at writing, just voice memo it so you can get the thought on that and put the audio clip there.
I put that actual list on my phone
That's
because
what
those ideas come all the time at strange times. And so my phone is usually always with me. All right. Dean, you're up.
Hi, I have 3 people I need to follow up with that have come on my mind, but also I have a client who's chasing it, and she gave me a why today, and I just need to update her.
Okay. All right. What are the names of those 3 people? Do you have them right now?
Yeah, it's a family member up north. His name just went out my brain.
That's okay. So a family member up north. Who's the other 2?
I have 2 gals who asked about what I'm doing to take shape for life.
Uh-huh.
And I just need to have a real casual conversation with them.
Okay. Yep. So family member and 2 gals. That's
Right.
Great. Yep. Awesome. Alex?
Yeah, for me, it's back to the basics. This is working for me, so I'm going to stick with it. I'm going to invite 2 more people to do 3-way Zooms with my mentor leadership team that are coach candidates. And even though I want to clarify for new people, they're coach candidates because I see that they're sticking to the program, that they're outgoing, that they're showing some signs of excitement. They don't necessarily know that they're a coach candidate. So I'm not going to say, hey, Craig, this is my coach candidate. I'm just going to have them do a client story call and share what's going well, and then see what comes up in the conversation.
Yeah. That's an awakening conversation. The last one that you didn't list is that you like them.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Super.
Don't ruin this.
Actually, I actually enjoy. You don't want to bring somebody who's sucking the life out of you.
Yeah. Right. We have a pretty cool thing going here, so don't screw this up.
Right. Right. I have clients that I need to put other client support calls around because I be charged for them. And
Exactly. Exactly. Debbie.
I'm going to invite some people to support calls.
Yeah. Do you have a specific person in mind that you would want to invite?
Amanda.
Get after her. She's no lovely. All right, Carrie, you're up.
Yeah, for me, it's just back to the beginning. Just start reading the book again, which I really loved going through anyway. And so getting back on that, my action item is already, I'm here. This is it.
Yeah.
This is my action item this week. So back to the beginning.
And you're on day 4 or day 5 today?
Today's day 4.
Today 4. Okay.
Yeah.
You got through day 3. Way to go.
You know, it's amazing how well I've slept too, because it's been weighing on my mind, and you prep your mind so long before that you finally act, and it's just like this huge relief, and you feel like it's awesome. It's awesome. Yeah. Anyway, back to the beginning, Craig. That's it.
All right, Linda.
Oh, I started, I'm going to start keeping a live going list like Kim of just things to talk about with clients, and the habits of health calls. That was Diane and Kim's topic a couple weeks ago, have been awesome. So doing that, and then going back through my notebook, and sometimes if there's too much there, I get overwhelmed and then I don't look at it. So just taking that 2 hours, like you said.
So here's a little perspective. I asked for 1 and you gave me 3. And I know you're an overachiever, but this is a big point. If you have too many things, you'll do none. So what was the first one you mentioned?
I started a list.
Okay.
What I can share with clients and
awesome.
How to be integrated. Yeah.
Way to go. So she's already started it. So that makes sense. Yep.
No,
I'm telling you, this is so critical, because our minds have, I'm going to do these 9 things. And then we go, that's a big thing. I'm going to go have pizza.
Story of my life.
We call it, if you really want to get what Craig is saying, what you do, if you have multiple thoughts, it's okay to write them down, but then queue up one of them on the front. That's the key. Queue up one and just, this is the one I'm focusing on. And then when you do it, celebrate it. I did it. Tell your brain, did good.
Yeah,
cool.
check
Then
it out.
queue up the next one. Yeah.
So there's some people that don't have their videos on. Daniela, Diane. Diane, why don't you go next? There you go.
Okay. I was going to give 3 or 4 things.
You up 1.
You up 1.
I know, Alex. We've been working on that, haven't we?
We're doing it, though. That's what we're doing.
Well, I think I'm not going to write the end of the story. I think that's a really big thing for me. I actually invited a friend of mine whom I adore to the coaching opportunity, and I had prejudged her. They don't need the money. She wouldn't ever do this. And I invited her, and she wants to look at it. So I'm not going to prejudge anymore.
Yeah. Awesome. Way to go. I'm glad the people didn't prejudge me. How about you, huh? I'm so glad I'm here. All right, Daniela, if you're available, unmute. Yep, there you go. Oh, yeah, there you go. What's your one action?
Well, I think that it was a realization that I am potentially the one person to link somebody to what could save their life, change their life, that sort of thing. So I have Renee on my list because Renee has been wanting but needs a lot of help with clarifying and getting into action, and I'm going to put some more time into that.
Great. Sweet. Renee's going to thank you one day. I hope she will. All right. I think this is Steph. How about you, Steph? You're on the telephone. Do you have a one action item?
I'm going to get out the file folders, and I'm going to go through the questions more so that I can make my calls a little more fun and exciting.
Great. So revitalizing your conversations for your support stuff. Awesome.
Yep.
Thanks, Mom. All right, guys. So yeah, that's Mom. Stephanie's my mom. So thank you all for showing up today. We'll see you next week. And it's your job to manage the thing you just said. And we have it on recording. So, but nobody's going to come after you. But get after it and take care of it. Somebody's life can be affected by the simple thing you just said, whatever that was.
Yeah.
So thanks for joining us today. Thank you all for your participation.
And just remember, when you help people get what they want, you get what you want in the process. It's pretty amazing.
Mm-hmm. That's right. All right, guys. Have a great week. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.